Okay, we'll start this meeting of Board of Trustees, Venus Independent School District on June 20th, 2022. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. and we have a quorum. Everybody please stand. Jerry, will you lead us in the invocation?
Yes. Dear Lord and Father, just come tonight, Lord, just thank you for this chance to be together, Lord. We'd ask that you just bless each and every one that's here tonight in a special way. You'd ask that, Lord, you just guide and direct us tonight as we make decisions for this school and this community, Lord. We pray for the safety of our teachers, our kids, Lord. We'd ask you, Lord, now that you just pray for our country, Lord. We ask all these things in your holy, precious name. Amen.
All right, I'll let Tasha lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Well, thank y'all and welcome all our guests, either here or online. We're going to go to item number 4, presentation of campus reports.
Okay. In your campus reports.
Ours is really minimal for the end of the school year. As you can see, we ended the year with 440 students, so the amount of growth that we added was minimally 60 students, and already our enrollment is up for our pre-K and kindergarten students, so they're coming, so it's exciting. And our teacher of the year was Miss Mari Carmen Allen, our bilingual kindergarten teacher. She's outstanding. And then our staff member of the year was Mr. Woodworth. Okay, we ended the year with 634 students in enrollment. Our teacher of the year, first was, there are some pictures on here for from Golden State Foods that Tasha Gore works for, from our Bikes for Bulldogs event. And that first picture is the whole crew from Golden State Foods that came and helped out that day just from her company. It was amazing, all the help that we had. And our teacher of the year, we had a retirement, Gloria Latigo. I didn't have a picture of Karen Williams. I don't think it's on there. Karen Williams was our teacher of the year. She's a second grade teacher. And our staff member of the year was Miss Whitney Holtz, and she's our art paraprofessional. And then there were some pictures of field day.
All right. At the middle school, our teacher of the year was Miss Emily Whittington, who got married over the weekend and will now have a different last name, which will completely confuse me. And then our support staff of the year was Miss Collette. Her husband accepted the award for her. If you weren't there that day, it was a special time. Things going on. We had a young lady who wrote for a poetry contest at the Holocaust Museum. Janelle Castellan, she received recognition for her poem in the Every Child Has a Legacy at the Holocaust Museum. And very important, the Venus Middle School won the volleyball championship for the district at Teacher Field Day.
Mr. Andy Haybeck is the teacher of the year. Staff member of the year, Miss Krista Roberts, the school nurse, and both of those do a fine job for us. Campus activities and achievements, you can see we had graduation. We had over 140 graduates, and things went very, very well on that day. One of the things that's listed on here too is when you take a look at our students who made steady growth in English 2 this year. Talks about the end of course exam. Last year we had 64% that met that, and this year we had 70. And then also the English 1, last year we had 58%, and this year we had 70%. So I'm proud of those achievements.
For campus reports, okay, we'll go to item number 5, opportunity for public comment. Did anybody sign up? All right, thank you. So we can go on to item number 6, presentation and review of board operating procedures. Mr. Hopper?
So yes, sir, the board operating procedures, and these procedures are what we review each year. And so the first one, and they deal with things like how to request information about meeting items, communication with team members between meetings, how to visit campuses as a board member, so that's outlined as well. Also in here, it talks about, several of them. Procedure number 6, board members are encouraged to participate in community activities as liaisons, and goes about all of that. Next one, procedure number 7, talks about speaking to media representatives. Procedure number 8, talks about how agendas are drafted, and that whole process. Procedure number 9, referring to the speaker to applicable board policy or district personnel during a board meeting. And then the last one on here is how to orient board members. So anyway, if you would please continue to look over that, and see if there's, we're just reviewing it this time. We'll bring it back next month and see if there's something we want to revise. It's been a while since we've done it, so.
Okay. All right, we're going to item number 7, presentation of annual athletic department report. Mr. Terry Spray.
I appreciate y'all letting me do this. First of all, I mean, we got a PowerPoint up there, but I'm just going to kind of talk to you. In your board report, it shows the summer workouts, shows pictures of the kids working out and all different levels. I'll explain that to you. And then it basically talks about different camps, when football starts and all that, but I put that in your board report. So I'll just give you a brief summary of what's happening. Right now, our volleyball girls, they played in the spring league in Alvarado. It lasted for 6 weeks, so they've concluded that. Right now, 7-on-7, we host 7-on-7 every Thursday. We've been doing it through the month of June. And the people that are involved in that is Midlothian Heritage JV, it is Waxahachie Life, and then also Maypearl and us. And it's been great for our kids because not only we're getting better, but we're starting to understand our system better. And so far, the 3 times we played, we went 2-1, 2-1, and then went 3-0 last week. So they're getting a lot of confidence. And so we have one more week of that. Eventually, what I want to do with that is once the people understands the system and the kids get better and better, then we're going to start entering these tournaments, because when I was AD prior, we went and ended up going to the state 7-on-7 tournament and at Texas A&M, so it was awful nice, and you can see the excitement of the kids there. Basketball, there was no girls' spring league because of the transition with Coach Smith leaving and all that, but the boys have been playing spring league, AAU basketball games, and there's some girls been in AAU, so that they're continue to work hard. The girls' basketball camp, you can see all the different camp dates, but that's June 27th through the 30th, and the boys just concluded last week. Right now, the baseball camp is going on, and also softball, spring league softball, where we have Whitney, Hillsborough, Venus, and they're just going to town and playing. But you can see that the softball camp will be July 25th through 27th. Also a soccer camp. So you can see that we're getting involved in all these camps, getting these kids trying to understand that we are going to change this. You know, our motto, the way that we look at things, we are change. And it's everybody getting involved. And I mean, and so right here, if you look at the presentation, the way that we came up this coaching staff and Coach Rivas and I was looking at, and I kept saying, it's time. It's time. And then what I wanted to do is, I compare this and people kind of laugh at me and they think that it's kind of stupid. But, when you're going down the road and you see that Bucky sign, I mean, those kids are excited. They're seeing it. They can't wait. And that's the same way here. We want to tell you it's time and just wait, because we are the change and everybody has to buy in. And that's what we say at the end. We break it out as a group. All boys and girls do that. And they break down and really, they're getting involved. But there's some 7-on-7 pictures that you can see in the weight room and all that. So I don't want to try to go too quickly, but then I don't want to waste all your time either. But basically, the numbers on the summer workouts, it's been from 85 to 25. I mean, some days, what we've noticed, 4 to 6, I know it's hot, but that's when we get most of the numbers. And I mean, the first day was 85. It usually stays around 50 to 60 every day. But then on Fridays, when we try to do it in the morning to try to give the coaches a chance to be with their family, and then also it drops down to 20s. So we definitely have to keep it, in the 4 to 6 time. They're going through 3 phases in that off season. I mean, the summer workouts, and basically what we do is in one gym or one outside area, we have ladders, we have cones that they work. The next one is more of the agility with speed and strength, which you have plow boxes, you have sleds, mat drills, stuff like that, and then you go to the weightlifting part, which there's 3 phases that we try to encourage. That's endurance phase, development, gaining phase, and then strength phase. And that's what we're getting in right now with all these people. Staffing updates, I'm just going to tell you that we got us a defensive coordinator. His name's Justin Fox. Got an outstanding receivers coach, which is Brendan Glenn. I know that and then an outside linebacker coach. These are just new people, is Andrew Cadle. And we're in the process of hiring one of the assistant volleyball coaches. And you can already tell that Coach Gober and Coach Glenn and Coach Fox, they're all the boys basketball coaches. They all work together. That would be great for our boys program there. The girls basketball coach, I interviewed 3 people, and Coach Hayback was by far the best candidate. He had a presentation that was outstanding, and I felt like that with the board's approval and Mr. Hopper, that he is the best candidate for the job. I mean, he knows our kids. He loves this place, just like he told me in the interview. If I had to go to Midlothian or Heritage or here, same position, I'd choose here. And that means a lot. Loyalty toward wanting to be in this at Venus is wonderful. So we did lose Andrew Cadle will also be a baseball coach, but that's pretty much on that. So that if you want a summary of what we're lacking, because I know that a lot of people wants to know, is the strength and conditioning, and I've interviewed one, and I have another one on Thursday, Coach Miss Buck and myself, and we have a boys baseball position that's going to be open, and then on the girls' side, we have assistant volleyball that will be open, assistant basketball, and assistant track, and assistant softball, which they go together. Like volleyball and softball would be one, track and basketball would be the other one. So it'd be just basically 2 positions. But that's kind of where we stand on filling that at the high school level. Now the middle school level, that's where we're getting worried, because right now A.J. King's the only boys coach. The girls' side is filled up, but we have only A.J. King, so we had to find 3 there. We're in the process of doing that this week also. Do you have any questions for me? That just kind of gives you a summary. I just want you to know that with the new coaches that have come in, the faces, the excitement's there. You can see it in the kids. They can see that these coaches care. I mean, these new coaches have been here every day, pretty much. I mean, you know, I tell you what, I'm very proud of them, very proud to be associated with them, and I guarantee you I'm proud that they work under me, because you can see that they have a lot of enthusiasm. You can see that they really care about the kids. And so I hope we can get some more just like them, because I'm very proud of what we have right now. So, any questions for me? But you can see all of this. It's been fun. I mean, the kids really have done an outstanding job in the 7-on-7, and you can just see the quickness and all that. And I think that you'll see a major difference in the fall when we come out there with all our sports, just because they're starting to believe that they can compete. And again, we all need to buy in, and we are the change. And that's what's going to make us successful in my eyes, is all buying in.
What are you kind of expecting as far as numbers for football turnout in the
Right now, what we're seeing is consistent, 45.
45?
No, that's not including the incoming freshmen. So we anticipate probably 65.
Yeah, it
around
seems
there,
like,
65.
I would say somewhere around 50, 55 has usually been about the average, so.
So it should, like I said, 60, 65, when they start getting out there and then seeing the work and all that, it kind of dips
Right.
off a little bit, but.
Yeah,
it goes
yeah.
back.
No, that's what usually is gonna happen,
But that's about what we calculated.
Well, it's, I mean, it's,
We'd
continue
love to get it up more and more and more, but, it's again, some kids' football is not for them, but, with us growing and all that, someday I hope to see us back with having 3 full teams. Like when I first came here, we had a freshman athletic period, and we hope that we gain enough people eventually that we do that again.
Right. Well, I mean, I know for football, just districts, across the state, I've seen slow drop in numbers when it comes to even just football. So, but no, I appreciate your efforts, and it's been a tough job just trying to find coaches.
Well, I'll tell you what, I appreciate y'all and the opportunity, and like I said, if you have any questions for me along the way, just please stop me at any time and just ask me, because that's the one thing that I do believe big, that communication is a large part of everything, and that's the reason we try to hit reminds to parents, everything, so they can all be on the same page as we are. And that's the reason we're with COVID gone now, well, it's not gone, but since
Right.
we relaxed it, we'll start back with the parent meetings and all that stuff, so they can hear the expectations and all the things that we're looking for the future. So,
Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
thank you.
All right, we're going to go to item number 8, presentation of student growth performance update. Dr. Morgan?
Hello. So this is based on preliminary STAR data. We have now received what's the actual data, and the numbers really haven't changed. So based on when this report was prepared, which is why it says preliminary. So we're just going to look at the data that we have in response to our 2 student outcome goals, 1 and 2. So student outcome goal number 1 was for reading. And our goal overall is to increase the number of 3rd graders who score meets or above on reading from 26% to 45% by June 2024. And this year our target was 32%. And so you can see on the graph, the blue is this current school year. And we had 35% of our students score in the meets category or above on STAR reading in 3rd grade. And so we exceeded our target for this year in reading, which is really fantastic. And then we also increased the number of students who are approaching, which is good. That means we have more students who hit that passing mark. The graph below shows just across the board from grades 3 through 10 are the students who are tested in reading. And so you can compare, there's 2 ways to compare. So if you look at 3rd grade, the gray bar to the blue bar is how our 3rd graders did last year and how our 3rd graders did this year. And so you can see the improvement. But the other way we want to compare is to go across for a cohort group. So if you look at the gray bar in 3rd grade and you notice that It's just shy of 60%. And then take a look at the blue bar in 4th grade. That's the same group of students. So that group of students, just shy of 60% approach the passing standard for reading in 3rd grade, but over 70% of them approach the passing standard for reading in 4th grade. And I mean, that is huge. That is so fantastic. That group of kids grew that much. And so when you look from grade, last year to this year, how they're doing in the grade above, you just see growth just across the board in reading. So that's really fantastic. Mm-hmm. So what we were looking at was their growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. And so in reading, it was all year kind of looking at it like, what's going on? And so when we look at how they did last spring on the STAR test to how they did on this spring, we just see those huge gains, which is a really interesting like phenomenon. So we'll have to go back and look and compare and see where were they at the end of year on their MAP data last year compared to this year, and what kind of growth that we saw.
Is the 9th grade blue line the 8th grade gray line?
Yes, ma'am. So that is one grade level where we want to stop and go, what happened there, right? Because that's the one dip that we see in reading. Yes. So I'm sorry. Yes. 2 dips. And if you stop and think about what those 2 grades are, those are our transition years. Those are the years they transition from elementary to middle school and then middle school to high school. And so those 2 years historically in the state, you see that weird dip in student performance. And if I had an answer for you, I wouldn't be working for you guys. I'd be working for the state, because I don't understand like what all of the factors that contribute to that phenomena. But what we do know is that 6th graders and 9th graders need a little bit extra attention. They need structures. They need to know like what their new campus is, how to adapt. And so that's definitely 2 areas we're going to be looking at. Yes. Yes. Okay, so and then this shows where we started at the beginning of the year in the MAP data because we have data on every grade level in our MAP growth system. And so the yellow is where the students, the percentage of students who were performing in the categories that indicate they're at least approaching grade level or above. And so this is the part of that MAP data that you were looking at or asking about. And so we're looking at the yellow to blue for each grade level. Okay, and then student outcome goal number 2 is math. And going into the year, we knew math was going to be more of a challenge. Last year's research from NWEA and other sources all indicated that students were going to have greater gaps in math, and our data confirmed that. And so we did about the same as we did last year in math. So you can see the percentage of students who meets expectations in math went up, but if you notice the percentage of students who mastered it went down. So it's very likely a lot of the students who mastered it this year may have mastered last year, met it this year. Because you can see on the approaches, it's pretty even. So that's why we're definitely at a yellow or caution, that we put a lot of structures into place this year, and we saw a lot of good growth throughout the year in math. But we always have to keep in mind the performance of where do they need to be. So we want them to grow. Absolutely, we want to see kids growing, but we want to make sure that they're getting the gaps that are keeping them from that grade level content and mastery. So we're going to keep using the STEM Scopes math curriculum that we purchased this past year. This year we will have all the pieces, and our teachers now have had a year of learning how to do it under their belts. And so this year it'll be even more effective. We also have added a second math instructional support person who is going to be dedicated to K-5, and so she will take her guidance on how to coach on the math strategies from Mrs. Haddad, who is our curriculum coordinator, and she will be able to have more time to work directly with the K-5 math teachers, and that will leave Mrs. Haddad more time to work with the secondary math teachers. So we're definitely going to put in just more support for instruction.
Can we go back one slide? I just have a question. I'm sorry.
Sure.
So I'm assuming that the BIL is a bilingual?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so first grade is really low. Is that like normal? No?
We had a rough year. We had a struggling year with that group from when they came from kindergarten. They started out the year rather low. We are aware. We've been working with our bilingual department, and we're making some changes for next year.
On the math, didn't we, was that the one we didn't get all the materials in? I mean, we were.
Yes, sir.
So we had a late, it was probably mid,
We are
Yeah,
actually
we were-
still waiting on a couple of items, and the vendor is working with us to try to get those things here. We have what we need that we can start. In the fall, we'll be okay, but that has been a challenge.
okay. No, I mean, I just remember that was going back early in the year, we were,
Right, and it
You
was
know.
just, it was, the story, a year ago was everything's out on barges out in the ocean or
Right.
whatever. And so we didn't get, like you said, we still don't have some of those things.
It's just a 3 or 4 pieces that we're missing at this point, but we are still waiting on them. But we are trying to stay on top of that, in contact with the vendor to make sure that we have those materials.
okay.
And then our student performance. So again, this is STAR approaching. So the percentage of students who hit that approaching standard, in other words, pass the STAR test. And so you can see some areas of good growth, and that's what we want to see. And then you can see some dips. So all year long, we've been paying attention to 7th grade, and noticing that that is a group of students that has struggled all year long. And we have looked at the teachers and the instruction, and 7th grade has had some strong teachers. 7th grade reading is where we lost a teacher mid-year, but they were able to recoup. And so our 7th grade reading data looks good. But so in math, we're paying more attention to what do the students need? What do they need for next year? How can we support the students to give them what they need?
So for the 7th graders, has that gone up since the beginning of the year until now, with all the focus that y'all have put on it?
So it has not. It has been a challenge all year with 7th grade. If you scroll down just a little bit, you can see the percentile for 7th grade. So it has been. No, it's okay. So this is similar phenomenon happening.
Yeah, and I would just say, we know, and we've changed things. We've done tons of things this year, but we didn't get the growth. One of the things we're putting in next year, some of you that have been on the board, when we added Read 180, they now have a math program, and we've seen huge results from Read 180, so we are now going to use Math 180 with this group, which it works on those very foundational skills. And then Ms. Haddad is going to work real close with us. This group, if you trace them all the way back, has always had, they've always been lower traditionally from 3rd grade on, but we are definitely working with them. Like she said, they were able to make up a lot of ground in reading this year, which I was pleasantly surprised, but we're still having that big struggle with them in math.
And maybe also to add, y'all don't see we look at the data as a whole, but when you look at each individual student did see growth. So even with our bilingual students, it's just small compared to the big numbers.
Okay. So overall, we know that there is still work to do, especially in math. We definitely want to turn that 6th grade, 9th grade phenomenon. We want to halt that and make sure that kids continue succeeding and growing and meeting those performance standards. Any other questions?
Thank you. Okay, we're going to item number 9, consider approval of SHAC committee report and adjustments to regulations for 2022-2023 school year. Mr. Moore?
On May 4th, we met as a SHAC committee, and the primary purpose of this was to go through our wellness plan and policy with a fine-tooth comb to make sure it was accurate with what we say we're doing and those sorts of things. In the first few pages, there were some grammatical things that we had to clean up, one of those being Tina's extension number. It was the old extension number from 1978 or something, I don't know. But we got that corrected. If you'll skip over down to page 6, where'd she go? From 6 on is what we truly focus on as far as the goals that we set and the activities that are involved. If you'll notice at the top of page 6, under action steps, one of the things that some of you will probably remember when you had young children coming through is something called nutrition nuggets. Well, those no longer exist. So we will still disseminate nutritional materials, but if there's any question about nutritional values and things of that nature, we've included our website, the website called squaremeals.org. I'm not going to go through every single piece of this, so we can get out of here at some point tonight, but just understand we still continue the partnership from our athletic department with VYSA and our facilities usage as far as the track and those sorts of things to keep wellness at a focus. We still have the yearly activities. What did y'all raise jump rope for heart this year?
I think the primary was 5,500.
Yeah. So we still do the annual fitness things such as jump rope for heart with the littles. Other than that, just some grammatical things and some things that we found that were outdated that we no longer do. And so we want this plan to be accurate as far as what we currently do through our wellness policy and plan. And with your approval, then this will go the TASB policy service, and then it'll be pushed out to the website. The other piece of this is with the new website, there's a wellness page. So you can go in and you can look at the minutes, the agendas, and anything that we've done in regards to SHAC. Any questions?
Okay. Anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I got a motion by Tasha. We have a second? We got a second by Gerald. All in favor? Motion carries. Before we go on, Liz, somebody's watching the door, correct? I mean, is there, in case anybody wants to come in, is the door locked or unlocked or?
The door is locked at the moment, but the bell's there.
The doorbell.
Okay, I just want to make sure that, because this is an opens meeting, I just want to make sure everybody has, you know, there's somebody's there that if they want in, they can get in, okay?
And what Chad's referring to is that we now keep our door locked, you know, for security reasons, and so, but we have installed a doorbell, and ultimately we'd like to have a vestibule in there, but anyway, trying to, just for everybody's sake.
Yeah, no, that's fine, and I just want to make sure we're abiding by all the laws, that we're keeping this building open during our meetings, so you have access, so I appreciate it, thank you. All right, we're gonna go to item number 10, presentation of legal policy update 119.
So, this is, once again, just presentation, we're not voting on anything tonight, and these are just some updates from TASB, and so we go into, on page 2, AE local, and this refers to, says local policy includes reference to religion and education philosophy, and then you can see how all that reads. Next one is CPC local, talks about records management. EIF local, there's a little blurb there on graduation. Next one's FDA local, interdistrict transfers, and once again, these are local policies. And then goes on to the back page, legal policy development tips. So this is update 119 So as you read through that, if anybody has any questions, just let me know.
Thank you. Going on to item number 11, presentation of recommended local policies revision resulting from the 87th legislature regular session. Revised policies to CPC local, EHAA local, EHBB local, EIF local, FFBA local, FFH local. Added policies, DMA local, EHB local, and EHBAA local. Did I miss one?
Okay, well, what Chad said. So, a lot of explanatory notes in here. Once again, this is revisions resulting from, again, the 87th legislature last year. So we just received these last week. So you can see on the about the fourth page is local policy comparisons, and it goes into where these have been redlined and then the new parts put in for those policies, making our policies then adherent, of course, to 87th legislature. So,
Okay,
we'll bring those back in July.
July. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go to item number 12, presentation of recommended changes to local policies and exhibit DIA revisions resulting from personnel changes.
Okay, and so what we see here is this one once again, and this is just personnel change because we've made the change at the Director of Human Resources, and so DIA policy would reflect that. Okay. So once again, that's just a presentation of that for July when we change that.
Okay. All right, going to item number 13, presentation of recommended action to repeal current local policy F and adopt instead of new policies EFA and EFB to address the selection and review of instructional and library material in separate policies.
Okay, so we've got an unusual library because we are a school library that is also a public library. And so we've had one policy that everything falls under. But for several reasons, I think it might be advantageous to separate those into two policies. And tonight, we've got Catherine Roberts with us, our district librarian, that can talk about this for us. Ms. Roberts?
That's a great introduction. That's exactly what I was going to say. Awesome. Hello, I'm Catherine Roberts. I'm the library director. I'm so glad to be here tonight. In light of things that have happened at other school board meetings across our country, selecting books for children and instructional materials has definitely come under scrutiny. And in our case, as Mr. Hopper said, with our library being both a public and a school library at the high school, I would like to propose that we split those policies, and not just for that reason, but when we purchase instructional materials, they are in direct support of the TEKS. When we are purchasing library materials, we are purchasing materials to encourage students to read and to explore interest and things like that. Well, I guess, definitely reading is under the TEKS. Our goal is different. Just like, Coach talks about the kids practicing, and that's where you're going to make your difference and see your difference Friday night. The number one thing that improves reading scores is students reading. And I'm just sorry, they're going to read Dog Man 100 times before they're going to read the new graphic novel. I apologize. The latest graphic novel. Before they pick up the latest Newbery book or the book that, that I think is the best book to read. And so we try to have a diverse collection in all of our school libraries to draw the interest of our students, to encourage them to read and to find new things. And so the way this one, Dogman, it's written by also the author of Captain Underpants. So I know. Oh, there we go. I'll introduce you to Dogman. Absolutely. They're actually very punny. For whom the bell tolls, fetch 22. He's a literary genius. So what this looks like in this particular case is that you would delete, or what do you call it in the legal terms? You would get rid of, repeal, or you get rid of the old one because you'd put in a new instructional materials policy for the classrooms and then a library materials policy. And so that is what we're reviewing.
Where would those changes take place?
Yes. Delete the EF local, and then the new instructional materials would be EFA local, and the new library materials would be EFB local.
So with the separation, we got one serving as a community library, and then a library for the district as well. So we have certain instructional materials that, say are allowable, but then is it on the community side, public library, are there certain materials that I guess community could recommend or ask for that we would have to provide?
That's a great question. And have to is not the right word. I mean,
Right.
I totally get what you're saying. Nobody can come in and say, well, I want this book, I demand you get it. But we have students and parents and community members all the time saying, well, can you get me a good biography of John Wayne? Or, I'd like to read something about this. Or one of the most popular sections of our community library is the New York Times bestseller that has a lot of the, the current adult books. The new John Grisham book. My husband's always
Right.
saying, have you gotten that one yet? Honey, just wait.
Yeah.
But those kind of things.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was saying. It was like, there's certain, because on the community library side, that's, these, are some of those off limits to on the,
Well, get another excellent question. So in our high school library, and this policy would apply to all of our libraries,
Right.
but the one that is the touchiest, is the high school library. And so within our high school library, we have that New York Times bestseller section, but we also have a picture book section for our little guys, a juvenile fiction and nonfiction section that hits those middle grades, and then a young adult section, and then an adult section. And we, for example, for summer school, we had the elementary school students come over and check out books as part of their,
Right.
reading class. And we did say, okay, we recommend you guys get books from the juvenile fiction section. That's middle grades. This is where you're going to be reading on a level that you can read on, and this is going to be books that interest you most. Typically, when kids come into the library as a community, they are with their parents and they're checking out books under their parents' card. And so that's up to them, their parents, what they're allowing, their students to read. So,
and that's, and like I said, I appreciate you explaining that, because like I said, I know since we do serve a dual role with our library, it's not separate like some other towns who have a separate library versus from,
Right.
high school or.
And we do realize that the heart of that particular library is the high school students. And so we when we're selecting books to purchase, we definitely keep that in mind. Number one, we're getting books that interest them, but also that they're still children. They're still under 18, and we are careful about what we put in that.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And one of the pieces on here I wanted to point out too, and I believe it's on EFB, page 1, if you'll scroll down just a little bit. Yeah, it says parent involvement. And it says the district shall focus on maximizing transparency with parents and community members while meeting student needs and providing enrichment opportunities with library materials. Parental involvement in library acquisition, maintenance, and campus activities encouraged. To support transparency and access for school community, the district shall establish means for parents and the public to review holdings, including information about titles and how materials are assessed. So, anyway, and goes on to from there. So basically, we want to make sure that there's transparency and partnering with the community in all of our library acquisitions. So.
And our online public access catalog, the OPAC,
Yeah.
what replaced those drawers from back when I was in school, is available on our website. Like, it's available to the public. Anybody can open up. It got transferred over very nicely. Great job, Mr. Nasworth. And you can look up, a specific title, and you can also look up, search by subjects or whatever if you're concerned about things.
That's great, and I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
You're
Thank
doing
you.
a fantastic job, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
so-
thank you. Come out tomorrow to see Creature Teacher at 10 o'clock. We'll have a baby kangaroo.
All right. So, all right, we're gonna go to, item number 14, consent agenda. Would you like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, or? Okay, I got a motion by Greg. I got a second.
I'll second.
I got a second by Tasha. All in favor? Motion carries. All right. So we can go to item number 15, presentation of Texas Reading Academy summary.
All right, Dr. Morgan's going
Morgan?
to talk about our Reading Academy. It's something that has been near and dear to many of our staff.
Okay, so I asked Ms. Stacy Escarado to just put together a very brief presentation for y'all on the Texas Reading Academy, which was a requirement from the state with HB 3 a couple of years ago that all kindergarten through third grade teachers had to complete this Reading Academy. So it was an unfunded mandate from the state, which was, really great of them to do that. But so that we have accomplished our goal this year to have our K through 3 teachers and all the administrators involved complete this Reading Academy. This was a 60-hour course that took our teachers 10 to 12 months to complete. And so it was a huge undertaking for them. And Mrs. Escarado has been our cohort facilitator. And so she had to go through training. She had to go through a different version of the modules to learn how to facilitate them. And she has spent hours of her time working with the teachers, giving them feedback, and making sure that all of our teachers are in compliance and are doing what they need to do so that they can pass this Reading Academy. So I just asked her to share just a little bit on how they did.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm Stacy Escarado. She's correct. It was quite an undertaking. I'm sure you could ask Ms. Ortiz and Ms. Box their thoughts on it for the admin side of it. It was huge for the teachers, and I will say that we are in the process of completing it. Every teacher has submitted all of their assignments, and I'm in the process of grading and waiting on moderated grading to take place so that we can all get our certificates. So if you'll go to the first slide, I just put some highlights of what was involved in it. When we first started, we were talking about establishing a literacy community, and it kind of goes along with the importance of our library and getting students reading. We want to make sure that we're connecting school, home, and community while we're doing so. So it's a perfect way to try to get the kids and their parents into the library. We talked about being able to give students more choice when selecting books to read, and you're probably thinking, what do you mean by that? Well, a lot of times in the classroom, the teachers are the ones telling you, hey, you need to read this book. But what we're trying to do and what the academies were even talking more about is giving students more selection, because the more that they like what they're reading, the more they're going to want to read. And so we're really trying to push that in with our self-selected reading time during small groups and our station time. And we talked about, and there's a huge part, and this was something that the admin side was huge on, was the data and how we need to use our assessment data to inform our instruction. So in doing so, we focus on our MAP data and our running records to guide our whole and small group instruction. And I know you guys just went through a lot of that data that you saw for the MAP data and things like that all year long. And we talked about using that data collection to create and make changes to our small group instruction, because that is happening a lot as the teachers are taking just informal and formal data to make changes to those small group instructions. And then the phonological awareness, that's going to be huge in what we're going to talk about next, but just talking about revitalizing our focus on the importance of phonological and phonemic awareness, those foundational skills for our students. a lot of the teachers, even though it has been a huge undertaking and it has been a lot on them, that 60 hours is I can tell you, is more than sometimes double the hours that they're actually putting in on it. But a lot of them have given me positive feedback on the strategies that they've either gone over again that they already knew, but they're seeing them again in new ways. And then some of the teachers have already begun to implement those strategies, and other ones have talked about that the fact that they're ready to start them next year because they were maybe not at that place at the end of the year because they had until June to finish. So we're looking forward to that for next school year. And then next is the impact for our next school year, which I've already stated. We're going to make a stronger focus on our foundational skills in K2. We've already gotten at the campuses, especially at the primary, the Hegarty for the phonological and phonemic awareness. It is a very short program that the teachers use lessons daily, and it's very strictly focused on those phonological and phonemic awareness skills. And I know Ms. Ortiz can even testify to this. Whenever they started using it, we saw huge gains in just a few months worth of using that curriculum. And then some of the teachers came across something called the phonics dance, and the students love it. I know she's seen it in action. It works really well. The kids, they just really love doing the dance, and they're also learning while they're doing it. And next year, no. You don't want to see me do that. But yeah, we'll get you a video for next year. And we're also changing to a new phonics curriculum called Amplify. And then our PD focus next year, as whenever I'm pushing in, will be on the K2 for those foundational skills. And now that, since it was K3, the third grade teachers that had never taught maybe the younger grades and didn't have to focus on those foundational skills, they're more equipped now to develop those struggling learners. And the next steps, which I know this is something that hopefully is going to happen next year, it's on the agenda with the literacy architects. The focus would be to take the Reading Academy content and break it down into smaller chunks to really give them time to focus, because it was a lot for them to go through, and some of them didn't really have time to stop and really go through some of the content. So we'd be able to slow it down and concentrate on particular things from the Reading Academy. And it gives the opportunity to, like I said, slow down and refine our explicit and systematic instruction. So I just put a few benefits, and I put in there the growing our teachers, each one each day, and giving students more individualized, purposeful, intentional instruction through small groups. We really want to get our kids involved in those small groups with the teacher, and each one each day, and our benefit of reading success. So then that PLC time would continue the work with the literacy architects. They would have more time, the teachers would have more time to collaborate with their team, and then we want to really take time to have some make and takes for teachers to create purposeful stations to work with their students.
So for first-year teachers coming in, when do they get this training?
The PDR, the literacy architects, it would be during their PLC time. It's going to be something it's a group that, well, I'll let Dr. Morgan probably explain it better, but they're a group that's basically taken the science of teaching reading, and they're going to help break it down. Some of the information that we've gotten from the Reading Academy, they've married it, and they're going to work with us with our curriculum that we have, and we're going to work with the teachers on how to really put the science of teaching reading into their lessons. And so even new teachers that come to us, they're going to end up, if they've not already taken the Reading Academy, they'll have to if they're a K3 teacher. And so they would still get that same training. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
I do want to say that just as they're sitting down, we went over this very quickly, but that Reading Academy, as Dr. Morgan said, this was nothing short of almost grueling for our teachers, and so hats off to them for going through that. That was a tough deal, but they did it, and they did it well.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to item number 16, consider approval of literacy architect's contract for 2022-2023. Dr. Morgan?
So Stacy just gave you a preview of what this is. So the Literacy Architects is a consultancy firm that has directly works with Texas teachers. They have worked directly with TEA, and so the content that they're they're creating is directly in line and supporting with what the Reading Academy has taught the teachers. And so what this is going to do is give teachers, so a true job embedded PD, which the Reading Academy wasn't, unfortunately. So the Reading Academy was, here, go learn all of this content. Go read it and do it on your own and do the best you can with it. And so for some teachers, that meant hours of time on their own, trying to read and sift through the content, and then trying to figure out how to make it work in their classrooms. And some teachers are able to do that and some are not, because it just depends on what style of learner you are. True job embedded PD is when you're learning on the job with your peers. And so learning in a PLC, we're learning the same thing. We are going into each other's classes to see how it works. We're modeling for each other how it works. We're bringing artifacts back and we're talking about what went well, where did students struggle. And so that also brings in the data-driven instruction. And so what this PD focus is going to do is give teachers that job embedded practice and ongoing coaching. And so it is going to stretch from when we come back in August through our January PD day. And so they'll have, on each PD day, they'll have a chunk of time where they're working with the literacy architects consultant on how to apply what they learned in the Reading Academy in realistic, practical ways. So they said all of this about phonemic awareness and phonics and doing these kind of strategies. Well, where does that go in the lesson plan? Do I spend 5 minutes? Do I spend 15 minutes? Do I do that every day? Do I do that once? And so this PD is the reality, the practical application of it. And so through this, they're also going to coach Stacy, who is our reading coach, so she can go into the classroom and see what teachers are doing. So they'll all participate in PD together, and then they'll have a weekly PLC where they are discussing the content. Stacy will get coached from the coach from the literacy architects, so then she can directly coach the teachers. And so that is what the whole program is, and that's the goal of it, is to really now allow the teachers to grow into practice together.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion for the 2022-23 literary architects contract.
Okay, got a motion by Gerald. Get a second? Got a second by Joe. All in favor? Motion approved.
Thank you.
Okay. On to item number 17, consider approval of purchase of large equipment for food service listed in bid, Venus ISD Child Nutrition, IFB 2022 through 2001, large equipment bid, posting date May 18, 2022, bid closing date June 8, 2022.
Thank you.
All right. I've asked Tina to help present this because this is her baby, and she knows it inside and out. So, Tina?
Turn that on. There we go. Can y'all hear me? Yeah, you can. Basically, we had to go out for an informal bid this year. First time Venus has ever done one as far as child nutrition that I know of. We had quite a bit of money left after the end of this school year. And mainly that was because of doing a program called SSO, Seamless Summer Option, which was a part of an allowance from COVID, and which it gave us a bigger reimbursement for each child. Also, no matter if you were free, reduced, or paid, we got that same reimbursement. So that generated quite a bit of revenue. So we had to go out for an informal bid because TDA says if we spend over $50,000 that we have to take it out for a bid process. Long story short, we sent out bids, maybe just daydreaming about the things that the cafeterias needed or some of the things that they even wanted. And after that bid came in, we took that and we looked at each kitchen and saw what was needed the most. And that's what you have in front of you. That is based on high school and then middle school elementary, and then primary. These are the things that we would like to purchase at this time for next school year. Now, that may or may not be in before school starts, but that is our goal, is to see if we can get it here. And the total of all of that you have in front of you is $351,000 and $782. Besides that, I want to have the rest of the cafeteria equipment. I want to do a preventative maintenance on that, which will be another $6,400. So those are the things we're wanting to do. Also, the main thing I want to do too is at my primary school and the high school. Neither of those walk-in coolers and freezers have ever been replaced, and I want to replace them. And that's probably looking at $160,000 for both of those. We're going to go back out and rebid those again because the companies that bid said it's going to be at least a year turnaround. And we've got some other companies we could do it a lot sooner. So. We did last year, the elementary school. We've gotten the elementary and the middle school both replaced. So when we do these other two schools, I think we'll be in good shape for a while.
So for the ones we're replacing, they're not broke. We're just replacing them because they're getting old?
There's really nothing broke, but we took the things that we know that have been in service, like at the primary, the 2 pass-through coolers and warmers have never been replaced since the school has been here. So those would be the things that these are the things that we pick first. The
And
things
then do we sell these? Do we put them up for auction or?
we can put them up for a bid on the government website. Yes.
What I appreciate about Tina is being able to replenish these things that are high-cost items and keeping our cafeterias, our kitchens up and running for a number of years. So.
So what budget does this hit? What year? Like
This
right
will
now?
be the year we're in now, 21, 22.
And there's plenty of money in the budget because we had the surplus from the,
That is correct. In fact,
and
I'm
you have to
actually-
spend that money.
I have to spend that money. The only thing that's gonna happen, like the walk-in freezers and coolers, probably will not get replaced with 21, 22 budget. I still had to go out for bid. I still had to get 3 quotes. I'll still have to take that to TDA because I'll have to do a report that shows why I have an excess fund balance. We can only have 3 months operating cost, and we almost have that now. So very little of the money from this year, I can roll over very little, so I have to spend it. Which is a good problem.
Yeah, it was-
It's
yeah,
not bad.
yeah.
So if it sounds like a lot, it is, but it has to be. So.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions or you'd like to make a motion?
Yeah, I will make that motion that we approve these bids as presented.
Okay, got a motion by Joe. Got a second by Greg. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, Tina. Let me, on this, do we need to, put a limit on, should we need to put a limit on what's in?
It says
I mean, I know that, yeah,
not to
17, I
exceed.
mean, it's not,
That was in there, yes.
I mean, it's,
Do what thing?
The not to
Not to
exceed.
exceed 400,000.
Not to exceed 400,000. Yes, you want to make an amendment to that motion then?
can, yeah, because like I said, I was just looking at that, and I was like, all right, well, didn't know if we needed to be specific on what, we needed to on that.
So how do we amend the motion?
Person who made the motion.
Yeah,
I will
Joe.
amend that motion to add not to exceed
400,000, okay. All right, do I have Greg, you gonna second that? Okay. Okay, all in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, Tasha, for noticing that. Okay, so going on to, item number 18, Consider approval of budget amendment for Venus ISD Daycare Workforce Grant.
Okay. The daycare workforce grant, Madison?
Yes, this is money that Tammy received through Texas Workforce. It was a grant that she had applied for. We've actually received 2 installments of that. The first one we received back in the fall, and it's just been sitting in the revenue account. And we recently received another portion of that, and I believe we have 2 more payments after this. And we have to do the budget amendment because it's sitting in a revenue account, and we need to move it to an expenditure. So it's basically just moving that money so she can start using it.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I got a motion by Tasha, second by Joe. All in favor? Motion passes. 6-0. Okay, going to item number 19, consider approval of budget amendment for transportation fuel services.
And this is just something we mentioned earlier. Transportation fuel costs more than what we anticipated, and so we just need to move a little bit of money for that.
I'll make a motion to amendment transportation fuel service.
Okay, I got a motion by Gerald. I'll second it. Second by Chad. All in favor? Motion passes. Item number 20, consider approval of purchase of the Bus View Transportation Routing Service.
So we had this presentation last time, and gentleman came from Busview Transportation Routing Service and talked about the service itself. In doing so, this particular, well, Melanie, do you want to address this?
So what we've been looking at is that we were doing a pilot trial, which did not include all of the pieces that we will have access to with the purchase if it is approved. The number of things that we will have access to will benefit both parents and transportation in the district, in that we will have route planning tools that will allow us to optimize our routes and do things that would be difficult to do by hand, such as routing so that as many pickups and drop-offs are on the side so that students are not having to cross the street, and also provide information such as when we will be there, the times that we will be there, and be able to monitor where the buses are. I get a number of calls with parents that are asking, have I already missed the bus? Has it come by? When will it be here? So parents will have the opportunity to sign up with the app, and it will tell them when the bus is about a mile away from them, so that, you know, in the winter, inclement weather, they're not having to wait out at the stop, especially on some of our streets like South that is not crossable, that they have to be down at the end. So some of them are with parents, and then others are standing outside. So, you know, we can limit that. And then also the parents that are calling in, I can give them essentially real-time information. They want to know where their child is, where the bus is, where it has already been. I'll be able to look on the computer because it will be tracked, and we'll know exactly where that bus is and how many stops it will be. So in addition to that, we will have tablets in the bus that will provide turn-by-turn stop information, and also how many students are expected at each pickup. So essentially, we believe that anyone will be able to get into that bus and follow the route and essentially do the same job that the driver is doing without as much difficulty. Right now, it's very difficult if you're not familiar with the area, and even if you are, you're not going to be familiar with those kids. So knowing, you know, am I expecting 1 or 2 students here, or are there 10 that get picked up, so that we can kind of judge what we're needing to do, because we want every kid to have the opportunity to get to school every single day. We will also financially benefit because what we do is we take a ridership surveyor count. It's required that we do it 2 times per year, but we attempt to do it most months, honestly. But you are just picking a random day and taking that count, and we never know, is that the day that we had the greatest ridership? With this, students will be scanning in with their RFID card, which is similar to how we get into the buildings, and it will tell us the days that we had the greatest ridership, and those are the days that we can report on. And it will also tell us the mileage that we had those days, so that we are, I don't want to say protected, but we are prepared if we should have an audit for any of those
those days. We would know that those students were there, and we would know the mileage. It also allows us with that tablet, I don't want to just overwhelm you, but there are a lot of things that it offers to us. We can use the tablet to do a pre-trip inspection on the bus, which we do on paper, and a lot of that information does go to the mechanic, but it's usually if something is wrong. We can track better what's going on with, you know, our tires or any problems that we're seeing, and keep the buses in the best operational situation possible, and also, you know, safer for our kids in transport. And I already mentioned the parent information and being able to track. We had a situation where a parent, the last couple of weeks of school, had called in and they wanted their child to be a car rider for that day. And that didn't happen. The child was out in line, and he somehow managed to get on the wrong bus, 25 instead of 26 or 26 instead of 25. So we're calling on the radio, trying to find the child. The child has fallen asleep, so he's not responding to his name. The monitor on the bus is not here because she's out on maternity leave. So the driver, we pretty much had to say, everybody pull over, we need to find this child and we need to find him now. If we had our RFIDs and they were scanning onto the bus, we would know where every child is, and we would know essentially immediately. I can look online on the computer system, and we know where everybody is. This has the potential to be used in other areas of the school because we can use those badges as our ID badges. They can, there's a way that they can be used in the cafeteria, that they can be our library card. They are willing to print for us at no additional cost. Whatever we want on the badge. So it can have a barcode, or if we have RFID in our school and other areas, we can use that there as well. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. Didn't we talk whenever this was presented about being able to use possibly our Chromebooks or something that we already have as far as the tablets costing, maybe bringing down that cost?
Yes. So what we're looking at is that with Chromebooks, we're already seeing some obsolescence, and I'm understanding that we're approaching the point at which those will no longer be supported. And with the tablets, they would be, we would be able to upgrade the operating system, and the price was pretty reasonable to have them, and also they would be mounted, whereas if you've got a small netbook that you're trying to figure out where to put it in the bus, we would have to try to figure a way to configure that, and I think that we would end up needing to replace those. The company went through and they tested different tablets to determine what worked well when they were, you know, traveling with the jostling in the bus, and they've had good results with these tablets, and so those are the ones that they've decided to use. I'm not sure where we would be with netbooks, even if we use those for a year or two.
And then who's going to make sure that the students scan in? I remember a few years ago, it could be longer than a few years ago when my children were younger and they rode the bus. We had something like this, and it kind of did okay in the very beginning, and then it just kind of went to the wayside because I think it's only as good as we, you know, somebody making sure that all the kids are scanning their badges. So what's the plan for that?
So there will be a training piece when drivers come back to school this year before we start, so that they'll know what's going on. It will definitely make a difference if you have to think about every month that you're going to have to take counts and write down kids' names and do all of that, versus that you make sure that each child that walks on, you hear that, you know, that beep and that tells them that it has scanned. And also with the tablet, it will pop up that child's name. So if we have someone that's getting on the bus, they'll be in the system if they're on another bus, if they're getting on the wrong bus, say when we're getting ready to go home. But if we're picking up and someone is a new rider, then it gives them the option to enter that student's name. So it's not as difficult. My understanding is before they were barcoded, so you had to be just in the right position to get it to read. These are proximity sensors, like if you've used one to get into a building, that you just have to be within a couple of inches and then the light goes off and you know that you can go in. It's a lot more forgiving about just needing to be close to it rather than having it read like a barcode.
One of the things that, you know, to me is with this, and I think this is would be a great purchase. And one of the things would be is we've had, you know, instances where we have, after they finish a route, they come back, they park, if it's a teacher or whoever's driving that bus, park the bus, you know, clearing the bus, make sure no kids are left on the bus. And, you know, and with this, I guess I'm looking at it as a tool to help, you know, when they look at it, like, hey, did all the kids, you know, get off the bus? They can look at that tablet and see.
And
did
also
those
where they
clears
got off the bus.
And where they got off, and making sure we don't leave that. I mean, like I said, they're still gonna have to have that responsibility
Sure.
of walking and physically checking the bus to make sure it's clear before they walk out of that bus. But I don't want them to be where they just rely, hey, I'm not seeing anything on the tablet, or looks like everybody's clear. Because again,
Correct.
that's
Yeah,
only
but-
if those kids actually badged in.
And there's an alarm in the rear of the bus, so when you shut the bus down, you have to walk to the back of the bus and push the alarm button, and then come back to the front of the bus. So it's not an option to not check the bus anymore. That's a safety protocol that's in place.
Okay, thank you.
How much time does this add to a route?
We were not seeing that it added very much time at all. The one route that it was being used on, they complimented us and said that they had never had anyone else do a pilot that did such a great job about making sure that every child was scanned in. But really, there was a learning curve, just like there would be with anything else. But within a week, kids knew what was expected. They had their badges every day, and they were using them. We had very few instances where we didn't have a badge. And with the littles, we connected them to backpacks. So whether we'll just leave it with a backpack or like one of these that stretches so that you can get closer to it, we'll kind of look at that and see how that works out.
I guess without the badge, the driver's gonna have to get on the bed and go
Yeah,
driving.
yeah. So he'll have a list, and with who's expected at that stop, it will bring up those students. So it should be easier for them to select that student got on the bus and that they didn't have their card. And of course, we can track that and, you know, kind of follow up and figure out why they don't have their badge and do our best to encourage them.
Well, bus monitors, I mean, obviously we have that same training, and
Yes.
so. Okay.
And this was the system, they've been working on it for several years. Another system, which I don't know if it was the one with the barcoding, but I know that they had it several years ago. That company has revamped, and it's a similar system. To me, it seemed like it would be better for some of the modules that they offered for a much larger school district, but they're started between 130 and 150,000. So I didn't spend much time looking at what they offered, because that didn't really seem like an option that was going to fit our program.
So because of the, you know, you've mentioned several things about safety and security, and I think because of that, excuse me, this first year expenditure anyway, that falls under ESSER funds, is that right? ESSER 2? So, okay. So first year expenditure would be, as far as your recommendation, would be $53,198, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. How much does it cost us after that?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
What is the cost after that?
So the cost that is after that, it should be up here. It is that $18,048? And so what that covers is that we will have additional cards. There are subscription costs to the different modules that we will have, and then also paying for the cards because they communicate with a cellular and give us that information in real time.
So the cards have to be replaced every year? Or
No.
they can just
Oh, no, they can continue with their same card.
And the only additional cost outside of that would be, you know, any new bus purchases that we purchased 2 new buses this year, then we might buy 2 new tablets, you know.
Correct.
So.
And they will show us about the installation, and we will be saving the cost. It's either $200 or $300, I believe. They talked to us about that in March, but we will be doing that in-house.
What's happening to the tablets, to the other buses we get rid of when we purchase? Is it not?
If we got rid of a bus or it was down, we would just remove the equipment. And if it was in good working order or could be repaired, then we would move it to another bus, similar to what we would do with a radio. If it was a brand-new radio, we would not send our radio off, we would keep it.
And this has nothing to do with the staggering of the schedules that we had originally talked about?
No, sir.
If it is used like they advertised it, I think it's a great tool. But it's gonna be dependent upon the sure that it's used as intended.
Will there be one on the special ed bus too?
Yes.
All buses that we have going?
Yes, and we were talking earlier about the SHARs, that we report in for days that we transported students who receive other services. And so we're keeping track of that on paper as well, so that will eliminate, and we're able to just report directly to them with printing out a report.
So as far as the Suburbans, those vehicles, they're not gonna be equipped with any of that,
No.
correct?
No.
So,
This can be done over the summer to be ready to hit the ground this coming school year.
I'm not certain that everything will be ready, but the initial planning will be to use the routing piece once we can import all of our student information and begin planning that. And then as quickly as we can get the equipment in, then we will begin to install it. Hopefully we can, but I would not feel comfortable promising that. It will definitely be in use, but as to whether we have it all ready to go day one, it will just depend on if we get that equipment in and how quickly so that we can install it. If we got it in and we did not have the manpower to install it because of the late receipt date, we might come back and say, hey, we're either gonna be delayed or we may need to get some assistance in installing it.
Who's gonna be tracking the system? I mean, because we're saying, well, we'll know this or know that, we get a phone call. Who's actually gonna be looking over the system?
Well, it's
gonna be looked at on a
daily basis, but then we'll get reports here at our meetings, each month.
Yeah, but what about daily? Who's gonna be answering all
That's
these
what
daily
I'm
calls?
saying.
Kids up and this and that.
So I'm taking all of the calls right now. A little later, we'll be talking about that and hoping that we can work towards increasing the size of the department, just because we do receive a large number of calls, especially anytime that we have anything that's going on with a delay or a bus running late, just anything that comes up, and we can do a better job of just answering those calls and providing that information, rather than a parent calls in and I'm needing to radio and the driver's driving and try to answer back. We'll just know some of those things and eliminate that delay time and be able to move on to the next call. It doesn't take place all day long, but, during route time or changes that parents request.
There's some peak times, and so
Yes.
last year we had somebody who would come over for a period of time.
Yes.
And do just that very thing, so that's one of the things we'll be talking about later, as she said, to have somebody there to help out with that.
So how much time will this save you, having a system like this?
Oh, my goodness. An immense amount of time. In thinking about the changes that we will have to routes, the first experience that I had was during summer school, and sometimes we were transporting 244 students. And we started off with 4 buses, had to increase to 5 just because of the distance, and just attempting to figure this out. And with the daily changes of, people want to add on, now we want transportation, we've moved, all of these different things, it was a lot, and that was a very small scale. So to do this by hand with the changes that happen, it's an immense amount of time. And I think that their goal is to optimize the routes and help us and decrease. If we are using buses and we have an additional route that is running where we can combine and split and change streets and add them together in a way that would take us, calculating different scenarios, it would take a long time, whereas the computer can just look at it based on the parameters that we describe that we want or insist upon, then it will spit it out and tell us the best way to do it. We can still override that if we know, for instance, the pickups on 157. If it told us that we needed to make all of those pickups on 157, we would override that, because we found that our buses that were being passed, if we split those stops onto different routes where we didn't have 11 stops that were taking place and people having to wait, they weren't passing our buses anymore. So there are things that we just know about our transportation and our area that we can make changes and override.
Will this be used for athletic events too?
Yes, yes. And parents, that's another of the things that parents can sign up for, in addition to the app that tells them if their child is riding to and from. They can sign up, and when children go on an athletics trip, it will automatically text them and tell them that the bus is 30 minutes out so that they can head to the school to pick up. So instead, when I was doing extracurricular, we had to pass phones around. But now, now I think most kids have phones, but still, it communicates with the parents and probably gives a better time frame because it's based on the proximity of the bus. So the system lets them know.
And field trips also, so if we're taking like littles to like the zoo, would they essentially badge in and badge out too?
They would badge in and badge out. That would not necessarily be for parent use, but that would help us to know and track, you know, how many kids we
Sure.
have and how many, you know, are getting back on the bus. Just another way to safeguard and check.
at the restaurant?
Or at the zoo?
And what's the cost for a kid if they lose their badge?
The badges they have, the RFID card is $1.50.
And then how big can this grow? So how many routes can this handle?
We've not been given a limit, and right now, the company has a track record as a fleet company and a lot of large companies that they manage. They've been doing this for several years with smaller districts, and they're very responsive to what people are asking for. So they roll out monthly improvements. So if we ask for something, they have not to this point charged anybody for anything that they have needed to change or add. So I'm not expecting that it is going to be a problem.
During their presentation, does anybody remember how many districts they're using right now? Do you?
He mentioned 4 or 5, I think you mentioned 4 or 5 districts.
There are 4 or 5 that are local. Not all of them are using all of the modules. Some of them have chosen to not use tablets, and but then I believe that they also have some that are out of state, because when we've spoken, they were, you know, calling me in between headed back to Texas. So it seems to be growing, but I would hesitate to tell you a number. I don't think that it's above 20, but I think that it's in the teens.
They just branched out into this field.
Correct. I think that they just had it as a branch of their company, and it has taken off to the point that they have changed and have a separate company, but they're running parallel.
Anybody else have any other questions, or?
So have we tried, you know, this exact thing? You might have done told me that.
We have been doing a pilot. We did not have the tablet, but they brought out the tablet and they showed me how it would work and uploaded a route and showed me what it would look like for us to do that. But for them to bring out the equipment for a trial, we've had this since March. So it just was basically the scanner and the RFID cards that they provided for our students, and then it would upload that information to us. So we had that information in real time. And at one point when we had the bus down, so we knew where it was, and you know, we were just able to know what was going on with our kids, with our students, who was on and who was off. We could look at it and see if someone was not writing or scanning in for a number of days. We noticed that popped up, and you know, so we were like, hey, you know, where is this child? What's happened? And we found out that they were off the bus and then they were back. So
So
you
for
can
the-
see a lot of trends.
For the trial, they didn't self-scan in.
They did. They self-scanned.
They
We just couldn't
self-scanned.
see it in real time.
Gotcha.
The driver
Yeah, on the
couldn't.
tablet.
Yeah.
Use it 'cause it would pop up.
It was
Oh, okay.
delayed a little bit. It refreshed, I want to say, every 20 seconds. So with the tablet, the driver has instant information, and we can reduce the refresh rate down to, I think, about 10 or 12 seconds.
And they have that ability to, you know, that person doesn't have their ID, I guess, so they.
Correct.
Look up the name.
Yes.
That app is compatible with all phones?
Yes, the app it has Android and Apple.
Parents who, I know that's gonna be a small population, but that don't use apps, is there a way for them to track it? Like if I log onto a website, can I still track it, or does it all have to be done via the app?
That is a good question. I have not seen that it is available for a parent to have login. We can have login, or if we needed someone at the campus, if we were using it for another purpose, then we can have that login and we can respond to parents. But I believe that they're going to have an app.
Okay.
So I guess that kid that continually doesn't have his card, he's gonna be able to continually ride that bus?
We will put limitations on that. We will know that the driver is selecting that they do not have their card, And it would be similar to if they do not have their badge at the campus. At some point, you know, we would need to decide how many days is that going to be before we're going to require that they purchase another. And I was told that if they were to locate that badge, that they could have both of them active in the system so that they would both be attached to that one student. So they could still use it if they found it.
I thought the law stated that if we didn't provide a sidewalk for them from their home site to their schools, we had to provide the ride. So how are we gonna put a limitation if the kid or the parents decide they don't have to have the card?
No.
Well, that card is tied to their school ID, so they have to have their school
Okay,
ID, so
okay.
it's one of the same.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
I didn't
Yeah,
understand
yes,
that.
sir. Mhm.
Yes, sir. And one of the things that we've already talked about doing is again, increasing safety and security all the way across all of our campuses. And that is going to require that ID to be there. Lord willing, we'll never see one of those tragedies that take place in some places, but if they do, kids have to have their IDs on.
Well, that even scares me a little bit from the last statement. If they find their other card, it'll still be active. So now we could have 2 or 3 cards with one student on it. And that means anybody else could be that student.
Does that flag on our report like we all three have Joe Smith and we all sign?
I would-
Yes,
It'll flag.
if they're already in, it would essentially scan them out. If they have scanned in, it would scan them out. But also, there's an extra layer of protection because the driver will have the tablet, so that information pops up. Whereas with just the scanning piece and the RFID card, they're just hearing it beep. We can't really control it. It's more of a reporting piece than the security piece that we're looking for.
Ellie, can we not, once we've issued a card, can we not also nullify it?
We can deactivate that card.
So I mean, that to me would be the thing to do. If kid lost his card, let's deactivate it.
Absolutely. And if we needed to switch that out, you know, then we can do that, not unlike with, you know, they're not unlocking doors the way that we are with our badges, but it could be reactivated. But yes, you would only want to operate with one at a time.
Have you presented this to all of our drivers that we currently have?
I have not.
So we don't have their feedback on their
There are a
thoughts
few
on it?
that are aware and conversations have been made, you know, about they think that it's neat and how it would affect them, you know, or benefit them with being able to do a pre-trip inspection. But as far as going over all of the steps and how everything would work, I've not had a meeting. If they've asked me questions about what's going on with A3 that's running in Patriots, I'll answer any questions that they have.
Well, we don't think it might be smart to really involve them before we do this. It might make a few of them decide they don't wanna drive the bus. We'd really be in bad shape.
Anything is possible. I can't say that it wouldn't, but I believe that it's going to make things a lot easier for them. They have to write up a pre-trip inspection. This will be that they walk around and they check off the items. They don't have to bring them in and keep copies of them, keep making copies and turning those copies in. It will also make it easier on the reporting piece so that we don't have to do those counts repeatedly. If we did a count, say we do a count, we try to do Wednesdays because more students seem to ride on Wednesdays. If we do a count on Wednesday and we have an abnormally low number of students that are riders that day, it would require that we do another count. And it's a difficult thing to do a count and, you know, and have anywhere from 50 and up students that you have to check off morning and afternoon. And, you know, who are they? Where are they in this list? Most of my drivers know the students, but it still does just slow down the process. So they would be thrilled to have them scan and not have that. There was a little bit of concern about the barcode. They were not fans of the barcode because it was difficult for them to get the eye to read the barcode. But that should not be an issue with the RFID. It's just a close proximity.
Okay. Does everybody feel like they've got it, you know,
You guys who have driven the bus, Hollis, did you see any problems?
Well,
Good, bad, otherwise?
The big issue for me, like you mentioned before, is I drove 6 different routes in about 3 weeks, and then finally got on one route, and I learned the kids and the specific stops. When you're a substitute driver and you really don't know, and you're driving in the dark, and all you're looking is for bodies standing on the side of the road to know that's the spot that I stopped.
And I would second that, you know, and what it would actually probably do, and like she said, I cannot guarantee it, but it would probably increase the number of substitutes because of that very reason. If I can get on there and know exactly where I'm going, but even now, if I get on there as a substitute driver, as we were doing, and if the monitor, and the monitors work very hard at this, but if the monitor's not been on there very long, they don't always know where we're going either. You know, one of them, I jumped on there and we drove about halfway through the route and everything was going great. And then she said, well, this is where it gets a little fuzzy. Well, that made me feel pretty good. But all joking aside, that's when we're kind of starting to roll the dice with who are we picking up and who are we dropping off and those kinds of things. So, yeah.
Like the benefits outweigh the possible negatives by far.
I think the benefits do, but it's like I believe you said a while ago, Joe. It doesn't matter what kind of program you have; it's how you implement it. It's how it's done, and if it's implemented in the right way, if it's followed through thoroughly, I think it could be a tremendous benefit. You know, if you go through there and well, we like this part of it, but we don't like that part of it, and we're just going to piecemeal it together, and I don't like the way this does, then you're going to end up with a program that is not nearly, you know, the presentation that we had here. So it's all about the implementation of this particular thing. What I do know is that with the onset of, you know, again, some of the growth that we've been talking about, we got to have some routing help. If you've ever been over there in that transportation department and seen some of the paperwork that's out there, it's wouldn't want to do it. But as far as drivers are concerned, I think you know, being able to substitute, it would be nice to be able to go over there and say, sure, what bus am I going to be on? Just tell me, and I could go just like that.
Well, not school related, but I saw a post from one of our longtime residents on Facebook this week that said, you know, there's too many houses been built in Patriot Estates when you have to turn on the GPS to get out of there. So
They're not wrong. They're not wrong.
Well, and you know, I know we've you and I've had these conversations over this past year, and I've said, not too many school districts have their superintendent driving a bus, and like I said, I know you've had your frustrations with, you know, with how we you know, with routes and where to stop, and you know, I mean, so this was one thing that I know, and I've even kind of, you know, pushed for was trying to use technology to help our parents in our district. So you know, I was one of the people that I felt like this was, after looking at it, I thought it was a good investment.
I will say that very thing is what has given me concern. We need to know exactly who we're dropping off and exactly where we're dropping them off, and there's really no excuse for doing otherwise. I don't want to ever take chances on that. That is huge. We want to drop that kid off as close to that house as possible. And as a driver, I want to know who's getting off, I want to know who's getting on, and we do have to be able to regulate that. You know, well, we've got, you know, Johnny and 49 friends are going to get off at this point today. Well, you know, we're going to have to regulate those kinds of things. But if we have exact names and exact addresses, that goes a long way. And the communication piece to parents, like we talked about earlier, that's a huge piece as well.
I definitely want to be able to answer to any parent that asks me where their child was delivered or they attempted to get off at the wrong place, because ultimately I'm responsible for every child that gets on that bus and where they get off. And I never, ever want to tell a parent that I don't know where your child is.
I have a question about, so I have 2 kids. One rides the bus religiously, and we use 360 right now because I want to know. She walks, we live in Patriot, she walks 4 houses down, texting when you get on the bus. So I could see when the bus was approaching and she could leave, right, to walk to the bus. She would scan it, I would know that she's on the bus. I wouldn't have to text her. Same way when she's offloading.
Yes, when they get to the school and they scan off again, you can, it's all
I
in
get
what
the
you
alert.
sign up for, but it will automatically alert you that that your child has gotten off the bus.
Perfect. So I have a little boy who has autism. He would, if he rode by himself without his sister, without him knowing exactly where to get off, would he be able to, he would scan when he would get on the bus, would he be able to scan off at any other stop that he's not supposed to be getting off at? So if we had, in Patriot, we get off at the corner of Washington, would he be able to scan off at like at Lone Star in Washington, or, you know, further down? Would he only be able to scan off the bus? Like if he tried to scan off, would it give you some type
It's
of
going
alert?
to give them an alert
Okay.
and say who that student is and where they're supposed to be getting off the bus.
Okay.
It was my understanding that each stop is programmed for, you can actually add those kids that get on each stop. So
Yes.
if for every stop that this group of kids.
Yes.
And it pops up. So if
Yes.
you're at stop A, all these group of kids start coming up on the tablet, is my
Yes.
understanding.
Yes, and it scans and it shows you each child, and it's not going to alert you, but you can watch
Right. you
as
can
they're
watch-
scanning
that's what
on,
it was
the
my
alert
understanding.
would be
You can watch those names pop up, so
Yes.
you'll have, 4 or 5 kids at this stop, and it's
who
gonna show
you're
their names,
expecting.
who you're expecting.
Which, it's good for the driver as well as if you have a sub-driver. And I don't think that it's a small thing that we will get to know our students' names. We get to know a lot of students' names quickly, but there are other students, your quiet students, your students that, just go in and they sit down. And I think it's worth mentioning that we will know that student, we'll know what their name is, and we'll see them, riding, and it's just another connection that we're making.
I mean, that was one of the things I thought was neat about that, was because it actually showed the kids' names that popped up on the tablet. So that
Yeah,
if they had a sibling or something that was probably homesick, then that name would show up, but then they didn't badge in, so they would know that.
Exactly. Who's not here? Where is your sibling? And if we have the photographs taken, when they come out and take the photographs, those can be uploaded into the system as well, so that we know what that child looks like along with their badge. If we're at that level, that we can implement that.
Mr. President, whenever the time is appropriate, I'd make that motion that we approve this.
Okay, well, I've got a motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I got a second by Kirby. All in favor? Greg, are you?
I'm not
Okay.
ready for my hand.
Okay. All opposed? Okay. I think the motion passes.
Thank you.
Item number 22, I'm sorry.
21.
Oh, shoot, sorry. I'm looking up. Apologize. Writing on the wrong one. I'm going to item number 21. Consider approval of safety and security modifications to entrances of Venus High School and Venus Middle School, Venus Elementary School, Venus Primary School, Venus ISD Daycare, and Venus ISD Administration Building.
So as we were looking at different modifications to try to make our campuses safer, and one of the things that became blatantly clear to us is how the elementary with their double door entry and the vestibule that's sealed, where you have to key in both of those, that's our safest entryway in the district. But so we thought, how in the world could we do that at our high school, at our middle school, and also at our primary school? And so we've got those drawings there in your packet. Then we also looked at daycare center and as well as this building here. So what we did was we took a vendor around and kind of looked at this and tried to get some ideas and some pricing on that. Hollis, you talked to them, didn't you?
Because the vendor that we used brought some things to light that we hadn't even considered. Like you said, the elementary is the safest, most protected vestibule that we have. But you walk into elementary, and what are you staring at? A big old sheet of glass. And yes, there is a plexiglass little sliding tray, but if an intruder comes in, that's not gonna slow them down from doing harm to someone behind the glass. One of the recommendations that he made in the walk-arounds, he said that all the remodels that they've done most recently to secure entryways, like in check cashing places and things of that nature, is to put a drawer. They could put the right kind of glass in, but it would involve putting in a drawer, so they just push the drawer out, you drop your ID in, we pull it in, scan it, and go on. Some of the obstacles that they were able to notice is just simply because of the type of doors and the age of the doors. There may be some additional construction issues as far as getting the correct type of glass in the older type units. But all in all, there was no issues as far as being able to get that updated and secure like we envision it, to eliminate any possible intruder coming in the building. Any questions?
So we would put a drawer in?
That's what, that was his recommendation, because we were thinking put in secure glass and then just have the little peephole. Well, duh, it's not secure. If I wanna reach in there and grab something or shoot through the door or whatever the case may be, this is just another level of the security that they don't have access to be able to reach in and actually do something to the personnel behind the glass.
I mean, I'm not sure how much more it costs to put a drawer in, but could you not, and again, I'm not an architect or anything, but could you not put the little scanner on the outside with just wires, like that it's,
Well,
and then it pops up on your computer versus the drawer where they just swipe their card?
Well, that's another piece is we currently, without completely updating all of our system is in the front office. I mean, yes, they do step up and buzz the door and come in. Well, then they have to hand off their ID to get it scanned. So that would be a possible next level step in that as well. But it still doesn't protect once they get through that front door, if that makes sense.
Still be the glass vestibule,
Glass vegetables? The festival? Yeah.
It's still that there, so they're in the glass, and then there's the drawer?
Yes, so what he's saying is the glass would separate you from the receptionist. Okay, so instead of having a hole there where there's free passage, it would only be at the initiative of the receptionist to be able to do that. So that's the difference there, and that would have to be special pricing that it's not before. So, give us a ballpark figure on that.
I have not seen the numbers yet. I thought maybe they'd send it to you.
I just have a question. So right now, the way our window is set up is it has that little slide at the bottom. It's about this big. But sometimes, especially with masks the past couple of years, like literally if I'm in the front office and a parent has on a mask, I have to like bend down to the little sliding thing to be able to hear them. They have to bend down because that glass is solid. Like there's no like little.
And that's one of the things that they talked about, is there would be some type of ability to talk
Okay.
back and
Because
forth.
right now that's lacking, and your face is like right down there.
Like an AirPods.
Yeah.
It's like,
And then I would say 50% of my parents that come right now, even though we don't have lunch visitors,
DoorDash, you know, they like to call DoorDash.
Yeah.
I shut it down, it happens.
that's just, when you said drawer and ID, I just thought about that. I was like,
But if you think of like a bank teller drawer, I mean, you can put like,
Yeah.
if it's like a bank teller, you can put like boxes of like coins.
could put
and
tennis
you
shoes
keep it.
or.
As long as it holds a 32-ounce Sonic cup.
And we're good.
Hollis, will this have to go out for bids?
Depending on the initial estimates, we were able to link up with these guys to try to get a quicker turnaround, just to get some ballpark numbers. because, the glass availability and like I said, some of the door frames and stuff will have to be completely replaced because they're not prefab to hold the type of glass that we need.
Yeah. But to answer your question, though, we can actually go through tips to do this, which would speed up that process considerably.
Would it be better to go ahead and maybe look at maybe tabling this for right now and until we get some more numbers and?
I think so. I think we
Okay.
need to, besides that, I think we need some more specificity on ideas and things as far as a drawer, how big a drawer, and those kinds of things.
And how
We'll
long
take that
will it
cost.
take once we get it all approved, like how?
Yeah,
When we had the conversations, we said August 1.
Well,
So before school starts.
Yes.
well,
But availability of materials is the huge piece.
Well, I make a motion to table
okay.
this until we have more
I'll second
information.
All right, I got a motion by Tasha to table and a second by, did you second that, Kirby? Okay, all in favor? Motion passes. All right, we'll table that one. Okay, so now, I'm gonna get this right. Number 22, executive session. We're gonna go into executive session for 551.074 at 8:50. go to item number 24. Consider approval of matters related to personnel resignation employments. Well, we don't need that one. I'm talking, we skip number 24, I apologize. Number 25, consider approval to submit TEA certification waivers for teachers.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I got a motion by Tasha and a second by Kirby. All right, all in favor? Motion passes. Okay, so on item 26,
I'll make a motion to table that.
okay, I got a motion to table Tasha, a second by Kirby. Okay, all in favor? Greg, okay, motion passes. Okay. Going to item number 27, consider approval of additional positions for food service campus cafeterias.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Got a motion by Tasha. Second by Gerald. All in favor? Motion passes. Okay. Item number 28, reports. Start with the superintendent.
So, I don't have ADA enrollment tonight, but what I do have is I spoke with some of you individually, but we do have the roofers coming out pre-bid on Wednesday to do some, hopefully some potential work there. So ongoing discussions, still pending with between our consultant and with TASB Risk Management. So we're optimistic, but we'll see where that goes.
Okay. Mr. Moore, you have anything? Okay. I know their chief financial officer's not here. However, do you have anything to add?
That look he's giving. He's like, wasn't it enough earlier?
Okay. CTE program.
Just to give you a little information, and I still have one teacher outstanding that's trying to shore up some number. But for the conclusion of this year, we had 211 of our students that got certifications in one of their CTE programs, depending on which one it was, but 211 certs this year. Well, considering that 95% of our kids are in a CTE program, so 211 out of 550-ish. And that's multiple programs.
All right. Is anybody have any other questions on any other reports or on the list? Going once, going twice. No takers. Okay, well, we're gonna go to item number 29. Board request for additional items, next scheduled board meeting, on the July 18th. And then we've got, we've also have another follow-up budget workshop as well. Now, on that one, I think we kind of talked about getting more information on,
Side by side from last year.
the side by side, but also for the next, well, I know this was probably, we maybe further discussion, but whether or not we want to have it on a regular meeting, to talking about the Defender or Marshall program, if that's something we're interested in. Consider
I'm interested in hearing about it.
the Marshall or Guardian.
Oh,
I
okay.
I said Defender, I apologize, Guardian program.
So we had this discussion a couple of years ago. We had a discussion 2 or 3 years ago about Marshall and the Guardian program. I think it's probably a good idea to refresh that discussion and see where we want to go with it. But we may want to, we can either call a separate meeting or stick it onto a board meeting on the 18th. It's up to y'all.
Yeah, so.
I
we-
think that one's gonna be lengthy. I I just feel like there'll be a lot of conversation around that, and I don't wanna be in a situation where we're here till midnight.
Yeah, and that was one of my things. I thought maybe it might be something we preface to a special meeting.
Maybe a
you know,
special meeting, I
to
don't
give
know what
us that time
Jay's
because it
schedule
is
looks
a,
like, but
What I can do is I can pull some dates and we'll take a look at work schedules and such, and I'll pull some dates and I'll get them out there and see what works for everybody.
yeah.
How's that sound?
Hopefully we can all, you know, have a good discussion on this and see if it's something we wanna move forward with,
Yeah.
so.
Everybody wants to have as safe as an environment as possible for our kids, and so let's see what this yields.
Okay,
I'll get those dates out to everybody.
okay.
And then,
It's-
I had heard on the news this morning, so I don't know, but I guess the free lunch thing is gonna go away.
Correct.
So how are we, I just kinda wanna know how we're gonna roll that out to everybody, or if we're gonna roll it out to everybody, or like what the plan is.
We-
So you can bring that, I mean, you can bring that next,
We actually will do it before then. We literally worked on that verbiage today.
oh, okay.
And so Tina and I did, and so she's gonna send it out, I think, before the week is out.
Yeah.
And so people are gonna start getting that message now.
And I know we were very clear
Mhm.
that it was
1 year.
for the year.
Right.
And I know we were clear when it first went out, so, okay.
Yeah. So I know that they'll be getting that before the 4th of July.
Okay.
Okay.
And can we add an item by chance, again, you're on the block here, and this might be a better question for you, but can we review our substitute, I know we third party out our substitute program, yes, ESS?
Yes.
ES? Has anybody been through that process? Does everybody know what that like entails?
The process for
What process are you
hiring.
talking about?
So like if you go to be a substitute, right?
Yeah.
I went through the whole process. I couldn't do it because I have a full-time job.
Right.
And basically you have to commit to 6 days a month to
Mhm.
be an active substitute. Because that's what that vendor, I guess,
Mhm.
requires. So my question is, what, like compared to, again, recruiting and hiring brain, like, will we not just have like an open substitute sourcing job, whatever, we have people on board? Cause my thought process is like going back to COVID, if we have to have a shutdown, we can like send an email out to all of our approved substitutes to come and cover a class. So we don't have to shut down our campus again, but we can't do that with the current program that we run. And I know, I saw kind of what we
Well-
pay. And so I'm just wondering where, like, what was the benefit in moving to that program as opposed to handling it in-house?
There's some pros and cons to it.
Yeah.
And like I said, if it's something you wanna, we
I would like
want
to,
to consider
revisit it.
or discuss, we can put it
Cause I've
on.
heard from
Sure.
several parents who would like to be substitutes, but like they just can't because, I mean, basically what we're gearing towards as far as substitutes, retired
Sure.
stay-at-home
Yeah.
moms
So
or.
our contract, I don't know if we haven't, I mean, as far as our contract
Yeah, what-
extending,
yeah,
it goes,
the
it ends.
contract.
Yeah, I'm not sure
But
when
it's-
our contract is up with E ESS.
Yeah, I know it's gotta be coming close, cause I
Yeah.
think we,
Yeah.
so, it
So-
is something that, like I said, I mean, we obviously, this was really the second year, let's see. I know my daughter was
It's the
doing it
first or
at one
second
time.
year.
It's the first, second year.
I
at
know
one
that
time.
basically
So-
the reason we went to ESS was because it increased our sub
Pool.
pool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was it. I mean, just give us more access to more subs. So, well, it's always something
It's-
to take a look at. And if, if you've got people that are, what is that number? What is that's affected by, I can't be here 6 times a month, therefore I can't be a sub. I don't know what that number is.
Sure.
So, yeah, let's take a look at that and see.
Well,
Well,
Yes.
and I don't know what the exact numbers are, but the way the company makes their money is by sending subs out. So they don't want subs that aren't bringing them money.
Right.
So
But it
what
doesn't
they
do us
want
any
is a
good.
full-time employee
Right.
subbing every day,
Mhm.
wherever there's a spot to do. And that can work for you or against you.
Mhm.
well, and like I said, maybe you, if Mr. Hopper can maybe give you a little more in-depth on,
Yeah.
on that whole program and maybe revisit kind of what we were, why
Sure.
we chose to go that route, so
Yeah.
answer any of your questions.
Yeah.
So, cause like I said, there was some,
Yeah, cause I saw
plus
us
and
really
minuses to
struggle
it,
during
so.
COVID because we were short subs, we were short everybody, but we couldn't put anybody in classrooms because they.
Yeah, it's
It's
been
a
a.
problem.
I didn't
big-
realize they
big
were
process
turning people
problem.
away.
But
Yeah, so when I went through the process, because I couldn't commit to 6 days a month,
Right.
essentially, like, it was up to me, but like my profile, even go through in the fingerprint process and everything, I couldn't be an active sub if I didn't actively select 6 days a month. So I would essentially not be getting those, like, listings or the calendar or whatever. I couldn't continue to keep my membership active.
Well, and I don't know if that's even something we can even negotiate
that's-
with them on, and that's an even
Yeah.
adjustable, I mean, cause like I said, it's,
A good time to look at it.
yeah.
Yeah,
so-
it's perfect time to look
Perfect
at
time,
it.
right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So, thanks for bringing that up.
We did it because we weren't,
Yeah, it's,
It was pre-COVID.
we had no subject.
yeah, we had
Yeah,
no,
I get it, yeah.
You know, hardly any.
But to me, I'm thinking like if you are, we're in a COVID situation where, hey, parents, guess what? Campus is gonna have to shut down. I mean, I can imagine people who'd be like, I'll cover a class.
Sure,
Please don't send my kid
sure.
home again. I'll cover a class.
Sure. No,
Exactly, yeah.
I was trying to think of something else that possibly add, but, if I think about it, I'll let you know.
Got
So,
all that,
yeah, I know.
we can-
I know, I was like,
We
oh.
haven't hit our
pile
limit
it on.
yet.
Just,
That's not what's wrong.
just pile it on, man.
Okay. All right, well, if nothing else, oh,
But letting everybody else, I never got there. I want two things, and I don't know what the procedures are, since we changed them, but it used to be if you had a request, you could give it to the whole board. But I'm the only one that wants to see it, as far as I know, unless somebody else wants it. So I guess I'm asking, you can bring it to the board or whatever, but when we did all the pay raises and everything, all the information we had on that was returned. I would like to have a hard copy of where we went from
Sure.
to where we ended up.
Where we landed.
yeah. I mean,
Like the first proposal, like that they gave to us.
You wanna know, I mean.
Where we finished off.
It's all gonna be-
The finished product.
It-
'Cause
it's all gonna be
now,
posted, and
somebody
sure,
will
you can
ask
have
me
a-
question.
You have to.
No,
My
I-
memory's
Yeah.
okay, but it's not that good.
Yeah,
I mean, it-
I had to do side by side on my Chromebook and it was hard to do that.
And I'd like to be accurate if I wanna say something to somebody.
But
it's
Um,
gonna be
and it's all
posted
over
anyways, but
records
it,
anyway.
no, I totally agree, it's, you know,
And,
get it,
And mainly just because I have the, like this whole meeting is, I've got records I can go look back at, but, that I don't have anything. And, and one more too. I wrote down question one and question, and when, we go over our test scores, I ask for this there every time, but seldom gets remembered, so I'm gonna ask for it again. When we really go over the state, and the state turns in, our numbers, I'd like to see our numbers for at least 2 years back, plus this year. And I'd like a state comparison, like if we went up 5% in math, I'd like to see how we're comparing to everybody else. Because 5%, hey, we went up 5%, but if everybody in the state went up 20, well, that's, you don't have accurate data. So when we get those test scores, I'd like to compare, a comparison with the state and the comparison amongst the last couple of years.
I think it'd
So-
be,
I don't-
And I actually put 3 to 5, but.
it's on the
Well-
it's on the taper report each year, but, to get it this summer, we would, not sure how much we'd be able to get as far as the state and beyond. And actually what really makes a good comparison too is Region 11 and Region 10, because that makes for good comparison. I've never heard you ask for that, but I will get that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean-
I think I've just done it over years and years. I
Right.
said, I really can't compare because I have nothing to compare
Do what?
to.
I can pull
Right.
comparative data, because with COVID and everything, it's kind of whatever, but I know, I can pull the comparative data to show you just Johnson County schools in our surrounding area, how we score compared to everybody.
So here's what I think is relevant.
I
think what's
maybe
relevant
so I
is
can
the
see
state, and
trends.
what I think is relevant is
Mhm.
Region 11, and what I think is relevant is
Right.
Region 10. And, yes, we could also get Johnson County. That gives us something to compare to.
well,
Yeah, I
so,
mean, The
okay.
state even breaks it down by like school.
I mean, it's,
Think about your size, your racial makeup, your wealth.
Yeah, that's
So-
all in the taper.
I guess
Like that.
you need just more granular, information, and that's fine. I totally get that, so.
I'm not asking for that, but the state usually does that themselves. You know, if you request it, they'll pull up like schools.
Right.
But just so, you just kind of leave, not you, I'm saying, hey, the system leaves us out in the dark, because all we're comparing to is our scores. I mean, this year, did we do good, did we not do good? If you can't see what the trend is, you don't know how good we did or didn't do.
Right.
Because we really did 5%, we wanted 10, and maybe the state only did 2%, and we're even better than we thought we were.
No, makes total sense.
I mean, so, yeah, just that in the past years, so that, like we did with those 2 bars, we can go more than 1 year. We can see them in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, and you can just follow that.
So are you okay if, are you okay if Mr. Hopper follows up with you and make sure he covers all your requests?
Yeah, it's fine. It's just those 2, just the records on what we,
Okay.
on the raises that we gave, so that I can see what we.
Right,
did.
and that's fine. Like I said, if you can,
And then the scores, so that I can actually evaluate.
if you can follow up with a, email to the group with just that same information, just clue us all in with it.
And that's why,
Everybody.
So we're all on board?
I didn't just ask you, because in the past, if you asked open records, I think we had it in the old procedures that if one person asked for open records, it was to be shared with the board.
Sure.
Get it to the whole board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to, try to follow that.
Okay. If there's nothing else, then we're gonna go to item number 30, adjournment at 10:06.